is Audible.
Audible Studios presents Freeing, written by E.K. Blair, narrated by Renard Pasquale. In the end, there doesn't have to be anyone who understands you. There just has to be someone who wants to. Robert Brault. Prologue. The rain falls hard as I drive back home. I'm a goddamn mess, and I can't get my head to stop tormenting me. I don't know what the hell is wrong with me or why this is happening. I couldn't even force myself to come this time, and I was such a dick that I made her believe it was her fault. It was a shit thing to do. But if I knew I didn't embarrass her, she would go open her mouth to all her friends. I pull up to my house and head inside. It's dark as I quietly make my way upstairs to my bedroom. Shutting my door, I lie down on my bed and stare at the fan on my ceiling, making its rotations over and over. How is this my life? I'm so twisted that the only reason I wanted to fuck that girl was because I knew Tyler had. It was my sick way of connecting with him. I hate myself for doing what I did. I hate myself for so many reasons. I grew up in church, going to Sunday school and Bible study summer camps. I believe in God and was taught that this way of life is wrong. It isn't what He wants. It isn't what I want, but at the same time, it is. This shouldn't be happening to me. I've done all I can to force these thoughts and feelings away. I've pretty much screwed every girl in my graduating class at La Jolla High. Nothing is working, though. In fact, it's only making everything that much worse. Nobody knows. I'm not sure anyone will ever know. I've spent the last few years praying that this is just a phase, fighting the thoughts that skate around in my head, pretending to be someone I'm not in an attempt to escape this sick person who lives inside of me. The only person I need right now, the only one who would listen and not judge me, is gone. I feel like God is punishing me for some reason. He took away the only one who could help me, the only one I could confide in. It's been almost 2 years since JC died. She was in the car with her boyfriend on prom night when an overly tired truck driver hit them head-on and killed them. She was my best friend. Everyone even called us by the same name, Jace, J-A-S-E for Jason, and Jace, J-A-C-E for JC. We never went through any sibling rivalry and did everything together, exploding mud pies with firecrackers when we were little, and later learning to surf. Surfing was our thing. We would always go out early on Saturday mornings and stop at the In-N-Out Burger on the way home. Mom and Dad still haven't touched her room, and I'm not allowed to mention her name. I miss her. I miss everything about her. And now, I need her more than ever. I need her to tell me it's okay, that I'm okay. When I got my acceptance letter from the University of Washington the other week, I knew it was where I was going to go. I need to get the hell out of California and away from everything I know. I need to free my mind of the constant taunting. I just need to be free to find myself, to figure all this out, to understand why, when I was banging Carly tonight, all I could think about was Tyler. Fuck. I'm not a fag. That shit is sick, and it's not me. I hate myself for even thinking that it could be. Just 3 more months before classes start at UW. August is when I will escape from here and finally get the headspace I need to work everything out. Chapter 1. Kimber, what's taking you so long? Stop bitching. Just let me get my boots on and I'll be ready. Man, what has your panties in a twist? She whines as she sits on the floor of her closet, zipping up her boots. I'm going to say goodnight to Candace real quick. Hurry up, okay? Ugh! I hear her grunt as I walk down the hall to Candace's room. When I open her door, she is sitting on her bed studying. Typical Candace. She's focused and quiet, and she's the sweetest girl I know. I love her more than anything. She was the first person I met and became friends with when I moved here to Seattle 3 years ago. We had an instant connection. In a way, she reminds me a lot of Jace in her sincerity. She made it easy for me to decide to open up to her about being gay, and she was the first person I ever told. She didn't even think twice about it when I told her. "Hey, Jace," she says, as I walk into her room and sit down next to her. "You really should come out with us. This band is supposed to be really good." "I have a lot of reading to do. Besides, I have to be at work by 6 tomorrow morning," she tells me, as she closes her books and slides them to the foot of the bed. "You know your excuses are lost on me, right?" She smiles, and I kiss her forehead before hugging her. "Stop molesting my roommate. I'm ready," Kimber says loudly as she enters the room, flipping her bright blonde hair behind her shoulder. "You guys have fun. Call me tomorrow, Jace." "Will do. See you later." When we arrive at level 1, the place is packed. Kimber and I head straight to the bar and waste no time downing a couple shots. The band playing tonight has brought in a large crowd. It's the busiest I have ever seen this place. "They're really good," Kimber shouts over the music. Picking up the bottle of beer the bartender hands me, I nod my head and take a sip. Mark, the guy who plays guitar, is in a few of my classes. He's an architect major like me. We've never talked much, but he was the one who told me about this gig tonight. It's hard to tell, but I get the sense that he's gay too. I guess he's a lot like me. Kimber and Candace told me that there's no way they would have ever known unless I told them. But there's something about Mark that makes me think I'm not wrong about my assumption. Kimber and I get comfortable at the bar and sit back to listen to the band play for a while. I met Kimber around the same time I met Candace. She's a wild chick, but fun as hell. I tend to go out more with Kimber, although we aren't as close as I am with Candace. I don't think many people have the connection that Candace and I have. After a couple of beers and a round of pool, we find ourselves back at the bar as the band takes a short break. "Jace, man, you made it," I hear from behind me. Setting my beer down, I turn, and Mark has sidled up next to me. "Yeah, I've been here before. Never knew you played here." He nods at the bartender and then looks back at me. "Dude, we play everywhere we can get a decent gig. We've been here before, just not a lot." The bartender hands him a bottle of beer, and I catch myself staring as he takes a long swig. His build is similar to mine, so I know he must hit the gym as often as I do by the way his sweaty shirt is clinging to him. Damn. I take another sip and look down the bar at Kimber, who is scoring a free drink from a loser who thinks he has a chance with her. I laugh and shake my head when I hear Mark ask, "You here by yourself?" "No, but she's left me to sexually harass anyone she can," I joke. "My type of girl." Shit, I was wrong. After taking another gulp of his beer, he sets his bottle down and cocks his head before saying, "If I was into girls." "No?" I ask for clarification. Turning to lean his back against the bar, he looks at the stage as he says, "Nah, man." "Good to know," I respond. And when he looks back at me, he gives a sexy side grin that lets me know he understood what I meant. "So, you sticking around?" "Yeah." "Good. We have one more set for the night." He turns around and calls for another beer. When he gets it, he looks my way. "I'll catch you after?" "Yeah." He nods before heading back to the stage to join the rest of the band that is already up there. Ever since I moved away from La Jolla and came to Seattle, I have been trying to figure out who I am. I was really confused before coming here. But after seeing the reaction from telling Candace and then Kimber, which was hardly even a reaction at all, I felt a huge boulder being lifted off my shoulders. Candace encouraged me to be myself and not hide while I was here. No one knew me, and it was a fresh start. Putting myself out there was difficult at first. I didn't know what the hell I was doing and always felt awkward. But I figure that is how most people are when they start dating. even straight people. Even though I screwed around a lot in high school, it was never what I really wanted. I barely felt anything other than disgusted. I think I was more disgusted with myself for using all those girls. Now that I'm here, I have been more comfortable with myself. The misery that I used to feel back home isn't so mind-consuming. I've casually been with a lot of guys, but haven't found myself in any serious relationship yet. I have been having fun and enjoying college life, not taking anything too seriously. But watching Mark on stage with his guitar slung low on his body, working the fretboard, I wonder what it is about him that makes me want to keep my eyes fixed on him. "He's fucking hot," I hear Kimber say. I didn't even know she had sat back down next to me. I've been so zoned out. "Who?" Rolling her eyes, she says, "Don't be stupid. The guitarist you haven't taken your eyes off of for the past 5 minutes. "His name's Mark." "You know him?" "We have classes together," I say, as I turn my attention back to him. "Gay?" "Uh-huh." "Well, that sucks," she pouts, and I have to laugh at her. "Only for you," I playfully tease. She nods her head as she continues to listen to the song they're playing. They have a unique alternative sound and can clearly draw in a crowd. As they finish the song, Kimber turns to me while asking, "How much longer do you want to stay?" "A while. I told Mark I'd stay to the end of their set." "Why?" "I'm a little tired. I think I'm just going to grab a cab. It's getting late." "You sure?" Looking at me and smiling, she teases, "Yeah, I'm not going to stick around and cock-block you like you did me the other night." "You're full of shit," I laugh as I shake my head at her. She smiles at me and gives me a hug before she heads out. About a half hour and several songs later, the band is packing up their equipment before the next one takes the stage. Walking over to me, Mark hands his guitar case to the bartender, who sets it against the back wall, and then hands him another beer. He introduces me to Chasen, the drummer, who comes over to say bye before he leaves with the rest of the guys. "So, are you from around here?" he asks. "California. I grew up near San Diego. What about you?" "I'm from Ohio. All my family is there. I just really needed a change of scenery, mostly people, so I came here." Nodding my head, I tell him, "Sounds like me, man. You go home often?" "Try to. I have 2 younger sisters that I'm close with, so I like to get back there a few times a year to visit." "What about you? Any brothers or sisters?" Sister," is all I say. Mentioning her always brings a burn to my tightening throat, so I leave it and move on. "You guys are pretty good. How long have you been playing?" "We've played together for a couple years now." He takes a swig of his beer and continues to talk about how the band got started and some of the gigs they have played. Talking with him is easy, and we casually go back and forth, getting to know each other. I've never really noticed his green eyes until now. Not that I've ever had the chance to. We've had some classes together for the past 3 years, but our paths never crossed enough to allow for more than just brief interactions. But he's sexy as hell. After a while, we realize it's getting late, so Mark grabs his guitar as we head out into the parking lot to leave. He walks over to his white Range Rover that is parked a few spaces away from my SUV. Following him, he slides his guitar into the back seat and turns to face me when I ask, "So, you got any plans this weekend?" Shutting the door and leaning against his car, he says, "No, not really." "You want to get a bite to eat tomorrow?" "Yeah, that sounds good. Dinner? Eastlake?" I see a hint of a smirk when he says, "Sure." God, I want to kiss him, but for some reason I'm hesitant, so I don't. We exchange numbers and say goodnight before I turn to my car. When I hop in and turn the key, a pang of anticipation hits me, and I wonder what's different about this guy that is sparking this eagerness in me. Chapter 2. "So, who's this guy you're going out with tonight?" I ask Candace as she flops down on the couch next to me. Caleb, he used to work at the coffee shop a while ago. We ran into each other the other day. She tilts her head at me and asks, What? Candace is a serial dater. One date, then she is done. She's always been closed off with guys and never really cares enough to get to know them. I don't know why you even waste your time. I try and soften my remark by reaching my arm around her and bringing her closer to me. Honestly, I don't know either. Kissing the top of her head, I joke, I think you just like free dinners. We both laugh while we shift to lie down on the couch. I love this girl. I always have. I can share things with her that I never could with anyone else. She never judges. Our physical relationship has always been a part of who we are together. We often sleep in the same bed, and I honestly think I give her something she has always lacked in her life. Affection. I've never met her parents, but from what she has told me, they are pretentious assholes and have always treated her like shit. Although she dates a lot, I know I'm the only man in her life that she allows this affection from. What do you have going on tonight? She mumbles, with her head on my chest. I've got a date myself. Really? With who? This guy named Mark. We've had a few classes together. He plays guitar in the band that Kimber and I went to go see last night. That's hot, she says with a giggle. I know. Just like Candace, I'm a serial dater too. Hookups are kinda my thing. I've never even brought a guy around Candace. It's one thing for her to know I'm gay, but I feel weird having her see me that way. I know this is who I am, but in a way, I still don't think I've completely accepted it. So, what are you guys doing? Just grabbing a bite at Eastlake, I say. Shifting herself tightly against me, she laughs a little when she says, So, tell me how hot he is. Hot enough that you'd take a second date with him if he were straight. I turn into her before saying, Now shut up, and let's take a quick nap before you have to go. Fine, she whines, and I lean down to give her a quick kiss on the head. Hopping out of the shower, I feel that pang of excitement again. I sling my towel around my waist and head into the kitchen to get a beer to try and settle what's going on inside of me. I throw a little gel into my hair and grab a pair of jeans and an old UW t-shirt. I down the rest of my beer, take my keys, and head out towards the elevator. I shoot Candace a quick text. Call me when you get home tonight. It doesn't take her long to reply. Okay, have fun. I love you. Love you too. On the drive to the restaurant, I can't get the images of Mark last night out of my head. Normally, I would have gone in for a kiss, but something about him made me nervous. I try not to think about it too much when I walk in and spot Mark already sitting at a table. I make my way over and take a seat. Hey, been here long? I say. Nah, just got here. I ordered a couple beers. Thanks. God, he looks good in an old, worn Mudhoney shirt that fits snug across his chest. So, what did you do today? Not much, man. The waiter comes by and drops off our beers as I continue. Just hung out with one of my friends, that's all. You? About the same. Hit the gym and hung out. What gym do you go to? I'm doing CrossFit at the Rock right now, he says before taking a swig of his beer. Yeah, I've heard about that place. I'm a member at the athletic club. It's a little closer to me. I need to check that place out now that the summer is winding down. I usually work out on campus during the school year, but always do CrossFit in the summer. Knowing that I already want to see him again, I offer, You should tag along with me Monday morning. Really? He asks as he sets his beer down. Yeah, I'm normally up there by 7. He nods his head and says with a slight grin, I'll meet you there. Conversation with him is comfortable as we continue to talk about school and what our plans are after we graduate this year. I never really care to chat too much with the guys I see, but Mark is pretty cool. Did you have a busy summer? I ask, as the waiter drops off our food. Not too bad. We've been playing a lot more gigs, so it keeps me busy. What about you? Setting my beer down, I say, I pretty much hung low. Took some day trips down to Westport to do some surfing. How long have you surfed? My whole life. I grew up next to the beach, so it has always been a part of me. I don't do much of it anymore, though, since it takes almost 3 hours to get a decent spot to paddle out. I tell him, and then ask, You ever been? Surfing? No. He laughs. I'm from Ohio, remember? The only thing we do in the water is sail and fish. He has a beautiful smile, and I can't help the one that crosses my face when he looks the way he does right now. Well, maybe one day I'll get you on a board. Don't get your hopes up, he chuckles. We eat a long dinner and take our time getting to know each other. After paying the tab, we walk out into the misty night, and I follow Mark to his car. Before he opens his door, he turns around and says, So, I guess I'll see you Monday. Yeah, I respond, as I step closer to him and brace my hand on the car next to his shoulder. I wanted to kiss him last night, but fuck if I don't feel those same nerves again right now. Nerves I never feel when I'm with a guy. Shoving them down, I lean in, and I'm relieved when Mark wraps his hand around my neck and pulls me into him, pressing his lips against mine. We stand there in the light rain and kiss. All the while, the anxiety that rushes through me has me on edge. He crushes his mouth against mine, and I thrust my tongue past his lips and slide it against his. My body is pressed firmly against him, and I'm getting myself too worked up, so I pull back. Not releasing his grip on my neck, I stare at him, and he gives me a slight grin when he brings me back to him and kisses me again, this time soft. Our lips just rest on each other for a moment before he drags his off of mine. See you Monday, he says in a low voice. Stepping back, I nod and respond, I'll call you. He smiles and then turns as he opens his door and hops into his SUV. The intensity that's rolling through my body makes me want to drive straight to his house and continue what we just started here in this parking lot. I get in my car and am knocked out of my indecent thoughts when I hear my phone chime. I take it out of my pocket and read a text from Candace. Just got home. How was your date? Usually I tell her about my dates, but there's never been much to say because I haven't ever clicked with anyone before. But this is different, and I'm nervous to tell her. I wish that I wasn't, but I am, and I'm not entirely sure why. Good. Heading home now. That's all I get? No dirty details? Wink, smiley face. Nothing to tell. We ate, we kissed. What are your dirty details? I laugh as I hit send because Candace never has dirty details. She's pretty straight-laced, but I love to tease her nonetheless. Went to the bar Method. It was weird. He tried kissing me, but I dodged it. Awkward. Poor guy. Whatever. I'm going to bed. Night, sweetie. Driving home, my mind starts to consume itself with Mark again, and for the first time, I think that maybe I could give this a chance. Maybe it's time. Maybe. Chapter 3. After lifting weights for the past hour with Mark, I desperately need a cold shower, but instead, he suggested a run, and I somehow agreed. So now we are making our way through the streets of a neighborhood that is not too far from the gym, and I'm dying because running with a semi is not all that fun. God, I have to get these thoughts out of my head and fast. So, you plan on going back to Ohio after you graduate? I ask, trying to refocus my thoughts on something else beside his cut body that's covered in sweat. I don't think so. I really love it here, although I miss my family like crazy. You guys close? Yeah. Must be nice. It's been years since I felt close with my parents. Ever since Jace died, they just avoid me. Back when I was in high school, it was as if I was no longer their son, but some dude that just occupied a room in their home. We barely even speak now. What about you? You close with your family? he asks, as we turn onto another street that happens to have an incline so steep, I swear to God, if I didn't have decent traction on my shoes, I would slide down it. Huffing out a short breath, I tell him way too honestly, "No, we hardly ever talk." "Why's that?" I take a second to gather my thoughts because I immediately want to tell him the truth. I'm not sure why, since the only person I have spoken to about my sister is Candace. She had already told me how demeaning her parents are and how it was hard for her growing up in a house with them, so when I finally opened up to her, I knew she would be able to relate to me. I decide to go with my gut and reveal, "I have a sister, but she died 5 years ago. And in a way, my parents did too. I'm pretty much invisible." "Shit. I'm sorry, man." Hearing the regretful tone in his voice makes me feel bad for making him uncomfortable, so I brush it off quickly. "Don't be. It's fine." "So, I take it you'll most likely stay here after you graduate." Finally making it to the top of the hill, we turn the corner, and I sigh when I see we have hit a flat street. Mark laughs, and I turn to look at him and say, "That bitch of a hill nearly kicked my ass." I laugh with him for a moment before answering his question. "I doubt I'll ever go back home. So yeah, I plan on staying." A smile crosses his face, and we both power run back to the gym. Once we hit the parking lot, I am thoroughly drained. I open the back door to my car and grab a couple bottles of water from my gym bag. Tossing one to Mark, I down mine quickly. "Thanks for the workout," he says, as he moves to lean against my car next to me. "Yeah, anytime." "So, hey, I'm gonna be up on campus later this week. I have to shift one of my studios around, and the online enrollment isn't letting me make the change. You want to meet up for a coffee or something afterwards?" "Sounds good. Just give me a call," I say, as Mark steps in front of me and leans in, giving me a slow kiss that lingers long on my lips. I wrap my arm around his waist, fisting his damp shirt, and pull him closer to me. I'm not exactly sure what we're doing, but I want it. I've never been this way before with anyone else, drawn to them like I am with Mark. Getting to know each other, I like it. And I like him, but at the same time, I'm wondering what this all means. Mark slides his tongue across my lower lip before dipping it into my mouth. Licking and exploring, I have to break the kiss before he can tell just how turned on he's making me. Something about Mark tells me he isn't into just screwing around, so I tell him, "You can't keep doing this to me in parking lots." Chuckling, he smiles and responds with, "I agree. I'll call you later?" "Yeah." "You want a glass of wine?" I ask from the kitchen. "Please." I pop the cork and pour Candace a glass of Merlot before getting myself a beer and joining her on my couch. She's laughing her ass off watching an episode of Ridiculousness on MTV. We often get together in the evenings and watch these shows. I love that she has the same humor as I do. "Thanks," she says, as I hand her the glass of wine. I sit down in the corner of the couch as she leans back into me. The bond that we share has only grown tighter through the years. She's always been so honest with me. She's an open book. I try to be just as open as she is with me, but there are some things that are just too difficult to admit, even to myself. But she's my family. She's the one person I know I can always depend on to be there for me, because she always has been. "So, what's Kimber up to tonight?" I ask. As she scoots around to get comfortable, she tells me, "She's at home with some of her girlfriends just hanging out." "You're so antisocial," I tease with a soft laugh. "No, I'm not," she responds with mock defensiveness and pinches my side when she continues, "I'm here with you, aren't I?" "You're either with me or Kimber. That's it." Shifting to her side, she sets her glass down on the coffee table and inches her way down me, laying her head on my lap. "Her friends are annoying, and you know I don't really like being around a whole bunch of people anyway." "I know. I'm just giving you a hard time, sweetie," I say quietly, knowing that this is how she's always been. Plus, I spent the other evening with Caleb. I laugh at her and joke. Your date that you didn't even like, that hardly counts. It counts, she tries to defend, but it's lost on me. Finishing my beer, I set the bottle next to her glass and slide down so we are face to face. So, what was it about this one that you didn't like? We just didn't have anything in common. You say that about all of them. Letting out a sigh and closing her eyes, she says, I know. I have a hard time looking at guys that way. You want to know what I think? I ask, and she opens her eyes to look at me again. I think you don't know how to accept or give affection because you've never had it. Your parents never gave it to you, therefore you never learned how to give it. But I accept it from you, she whispers. You do, but I don't think you view me as someone who would ever hurt you. Candace looks down for a minute before returning to my eyes. Is that a bad thing? Kissing her forehead, I wrap my arms around her and whisper, No, but it does prevent you from having other real relationships. And what about you? What about me? Well, aren't you doing the same thing? She's right. Except now I find myself wanting to change that. I surprised myself when I told Mark about my sister this morning when I don't talk to anyone about that stuff. There's something different about him that makes me want to be different with him. But I don't want to tell Candace. I'm not really sure what I'm doing, but I don't think I'm ready to reveal to her that I might want something more with him. So I simply say, Yeah, sweetie, I am. She looks up at me as I give her a quick peck, and then rolls over on her other side, so that she can continue watching her show. I lie behind her, combing her long, thick brown hair with my fingers, as thoughts of Mark start to flood my mind. Chapter 4. Jace, are you coming out with me tonight? Looking up at Kimber, who is standing in Candace's doorway, I say, I don't think so. Are you serious? Why the hell not? She barks, as she sits down next to me while I lie on Candace's bed. Propping my hands behind my head, I tell her, I'm supposed to be meeting a friend later. What friend? Candace asks as she walks out of her bathroom. She makes her way over to her dance bag and takes out her ballet shoes to start powdering them. So, I've been watching you do this routine with those damn shoes for years and have never had a clue why you douse those things in powder. She looks up at me and says, Because your feet sweat when you dance and the powder absorbs it. It also keeps the shoes from smelling like crap. Ah, don't change the subject on me. Who are you seeing tonight? Mark. You're going out with him again? Candace asks in surprise, and then Kimber pipes up and adds, That guy from the other night? Looking between the both of them, I answer, Yes and yes. You're such a slut. I just laugh at Kimber. I didn't know you were seeing him, Candace says, as she stands up and starts walking into her closet. I'm not seeing him, we're just hanging out, that's all. But I know that's really not all. It's not like we're dating or anything, we are in fact just hanging out, but a part of me really does want more. Kimber jabs me in my ribs. Fine, ditch me for ass. Laughing at her, I tease, Has anyone ever told you how delicate your mouth is? Hopping off the bed, she kisses the air while flipping me off. When she walks out of the room, I continue to laugh at her crudeness as I hear her call from down the hall, Text me later, bitch! Walking out of the closet, Candace strips out of her sweaty dance clothes and throws on a pair of shorts and a t-shirt. She turns to me and lies down beside me. I wrap my arms around her when she softly questions, Do you like him? We're just grabbing coffee, that's all. A few moments later, I feel my phone vibrate in my back pocket. Candace giggles and she reaches under me to retrieve it. When she hands it to me, I swipe the screen to see the missed text from Mark. I gotta run. He's leaving campus now. Okay. You want to spend the night here tonight? Yeah, I'll text you when I'm on my way, I say, as I get off the bed. I lean back down and kiss her cheek before I leave. Walking into Cafe Allegro, I see Mark standing at the counter, chatting with one of the staff. I step up next to him, and he says, "Oh, hey, Jace, this is Nathaniel." I nod my head, and Nathaniel reaches over the counter to shake my hand. He's an older guy with a bit of a gnarly look about him. "Nice to meet you," I say.
"Any friend of Mark's is a friend of mine."
Mark laughs and tells me he owns the place.
37 years, he proudly says.
We visit for a couple of minutes, and then Nathaniel makes our drinks before we find an empty table to sit down at. "Did you get your schedule fixed?" I ask him. "Yeah, I really wanted to get into Gibson's studio, but when I first went to register, it was full. But I hopped online the other day and saw that someone had dropped and there was a seat open." "Gibson's Tuesday-Thursday studio?" I ask. Taking a sip of coffee, he sets the mug down and says, "Yeah, that's my studio." "Really? That's cool." "Yeah, originally I was signed up for Professor Walters." Oh man, he's so traditional. I had him sophomore year and he criticized everything I did. He was a dick about it too. Well, since we have our capstone this year, I really wanted Gibson, 'cause our design styles are similar. We wind up hanging out for over an hour, drinking coffee and talking about school. Afterwards, he invites me to come back to his house, so we head out, and I follow him in my car as we drive to his place. Mark rents a nice 2-story house that's not too far from campus. When we walk in, there is a guy standing in the kitchen. "Hey, Kyle, you heading out?" Mark asks. "Yeah, some guys I know are throwing a party," he says, and looks at me. "I'm Kyle, Mark's roommate." Before I can say anything, Mark says, "Oh, sorry, this is Jace." "Good to meet you. I gotta run, though." "Yeah, nice to meet you, too," I respond, as he takes his keys and heads out the door. Turning to me, Mark nods his head for me to follow him. We walk through his house, and when we turn into his room, I don't even wait to grab his arm and pull him into me, crashing my mouth against his. Mark slides his hand behind my neck and holds me close, as he starts to step us back toward his bed. He breaks the kiss when we lie down, and I crawl on top of him. Lowering my head, I take my time when I kiss him again. He rakes his fingers through the hair on the back of my head. Pushing my tongue past his lips, I slide it against his, tasting him, before pulling back and gently biting his bottom lip. His touch is hot when he runs his hand up under my shirt, and my abs tighten at the excitement of being with him in this way. I lower my mouth to his neck and drag my kisses up, kissing him behind his ear. When his hand grazes over my chest, I sit back on my knees and reach over my head, tugging my shirt off. Mark sits up, removing his shirt as well. He looks so goddamn hot staring up at me. His chest is defined, and his abs are sculpted with deep cuts. I begin to swell up and grow hard as I watch him beneath me. Wrapping his arms around me, he brings me back down, and I try to relieve a little of my ache as I grind my hips into him. I can feel that he is just as hard as I am, which does nothing but turn me on even more. Our breathing is labored, and I want him so bad right now. Sliding my hand down his stomach, feeling each groove of his muscles, I don't stop when I hit his pants. Resting my forehead against his, I slip my hand under his waistband and grip him tightly in my hand. Mark lets out a low growl at my touch, and I push myself into him again, needing more relief. Before I can move my hand, he grips my wrist and says, "Wait." I pull my head back and take my hand off of him. "What's wrong?" I pant. He scoots back, and I roll onto my side when he says, "Look, I really like you, but I've heard a little about your reputation from a couple guys at school. You need to know that I'm not like that. I don't do the whole casual thing. I just want to make sure we're on the same page here." I look into his eyes, not quite sure what to say. I have only ever been casual with guys. Hell, even before I was with guys, I was only a fleeting moment with girls as well. I've never really looked beyond that. I go ahead and admit I like you a lot, but I'm not sure I'm on the same page as him. It's unexplored territory for me, and something about being in an actual relationship with another man freaks me out a bit. My mind starts to spin, and now I'm questioning if this is really me. Am I ready to do this? Am I ready to be defined in this way? I haven't even come out to my parents. Anxiety and fear begin to rush through me, and I suddenly need space. Maybe we should take a breather tonight before we take things too fast, I tell him. Nodding his head, he says, "Yeah, I agree." I reach around his neck and draw him in for a slow kiss. I can't deny how good he feels and how good I feel when I'm with him. I want him, but I'm scared shitless at the same time. When Mark breaks the kiss, he asks, "Can I see you Saturday?" Yeah. Apart from being so unsure about our relationship, one thing I am sure of is that I have to see him again. Stripping down to my boxers, I slide into bed with Candace. Lying behind her, I tuck her tightly against me. I'm conflicted in my thoughts about Mark, but I don't reveal these worries to her. I simply absorb the comfort she gives me just by being with her. "So, what did you guys do?" she whispers into the darkness. "We grabbed coffee, that's all." I want to tell her. I want her to know my fears, but for some reason, I can't get enough courage to go there yet. "You gonna see him again?" "Probably not," I lie, and I have no idea why. Why am I doing this? It's Candace. She would never judge me, I know this. Why am I acting like such a pussy about this? Snapping me out of my self-destructive thoughts, she says, "We're hopeless, huh?" I hear her giggle under her breath when I kiss the top of her head and agree. Totally hopeless. Lacing her fingers with mine over the top of my hand, she sighs as she softens into me. I lie there in her bed, listening to her breathing slowly level out as she drifts off to sleep. Emotions begin to well up inside of me as I try and sort through my thoughts. I like Mark, there is no doubt about that, but the anxiety I've had since we started spending more time together is stirring up this shame I thought I had let go of. I've been fine just playing the field and having fun, not bothering to question myself or what this all really means. This is almost too much for me to deal with. I thought that maybe I was ready for this. I thought I knew who I was, but it turns out I'm still confused as shit. Chapter 5. Tossing my gym bag into the back of my SUV, I text Mark when I hop in and shut the door. On my way. After the other night, Mark had called and wanted to hit the gym with me. I probably shouldn't have agreed. I know he wants something more than what I think I'm able to give him, what I know I'm not able to give him. But I can't help the feelings that overwhelm me every time I talk to him, or hell, even think about him. So when he called and suggested getting together, I couldn't say no. "Hey, I'm running late. Meet me at my house and we can ride together. Kyle is home." "Okay, see you in a bit." When I arrive at Mark's house, Kyle answers the door and lets me in. "Hey, man, Mark just called and said he was on his way." "Oh, okay," I say, as I follow him into the living room. "What are you up to today?" "Nothing really, just hanging out, watching TV," he says, as he picks up his beer from the coffee table and sits back on the couch. I sit down next to him as he starts flipping through the channels and asks, "What are you guys going to go do?" "Gonna hit the gym for a couple hours." Taking a swig of his beer, he stays focused on the TV when he asks, "So, you guys dating?" "No," I answer way too quickly. God, why can't I face this? Why can't I just be comfortable enough to say yes? Tipping his head to look at me, he smirks and repeats, "No?" I know that look. I give that look. A lot. When his eyes shift to my mouth, I suddenly feel like I'm back in my all-too-familiar territory, so I maintain, "No," with a slight shake of my head. Meeting my eyes again, I know what he's thinking. Knowing Mark is on his way home, and as much as I like him, these feelings I'm starting to have for him bring up all the shit I don't like to think about. Being numb and emotionless with guys is just easier. So I take this bait as an easy out from my conflicting situation with Mark. When Kyle leans in, I take the rope he is offering and hang myself. I kiss him. Grabbing his face with my hands, I tangle my lips with his, knowing that once Mark walks through that door, it will all be over, and I can bury this self-hatred that only he has been able to dig up. There's nothing behind this kiss aside from pure destruction. I feel sick to my stomach, and when Kyle thrusts his tongue in my mouth, I'm consumed with guilt. But I don't stop. Instead, I push him down and hover over him. He's running his hands up my shirt, and I don't stop kissing him when I hear the door open. My stomach sinks when Mark's voice pulls Kyle away from me. "What the fuck are you doing?" "Shit, man," Kyle says as he jumps off the couch. I know what I've done, and really, there is nothing I can say. So I don't speak. I get off the couch and walk to the kitchen to get my car keys. "You're not gonna say anything?" Mark questions as I walk past him. He's visibly pissed, just as I expected. He isn't like me, I know that. Grabbing my keys, I walk to the door as he persists, "Jace, what the hell, man?" I can't fucking look at him. I feel like complete ass for what I just did, but I'm a coward. He doesn't deserve it. He deserves better off without me anyway, so I leave. I walk out the door and straight to my car without ever looking back at him. I hate myself for this. All that anguish I've been hiding so well finally surfaces and I fucking lose it. The tears that are blurring my eyes spill over, and I slam my fists into the steering wheel as I speed back to my apartment. I can't even begin to sort my thoughts out. Hopeless. Candace said it the other night, and I couldn't agree more right now. Why can't this be easy? Why do I have to be this way? I can't stand this shit. I hate that I just hurt Mark. The first guy, the only guy, that I've ever had real feelings for, and I destroyed it before I gave it a chance. What the hell is wrong with me? Trying to understand why I hate myself so much is ever-consuming, and I honestly don't think I am strong enough to handle the reality of it, so I let the animosity eat at my flesh, right down to the bones. When I walk into my apartment, I get a beer and go lie down in my bed. My phone chimes, and I'm scared to look at the text message that I'm sure is from Mark. Reaching over, I pick it up and swipe the screen. I sigh in relief when I see it's from Candace. "Getting off work soon. Can I stop by later?" Feeling like a total dick, I don't want to see anyone right now. I love her, but I can't talk to her. I can barely stand being in the presence of my own thoughts. Here, I believed for the past 3 years that I've been an openly gay man, but the truth is, I'm still hiding. I didn't see it until Mark came along. He made me realize just how scared of these feelings I actually am. I don't want a relationship with him because I'm afraid that will make it too real for me. Define me. Gay, fag, queer, fuck. Am I ready for that? Is this the life that I'm meant to have? No woman, no wife? Immediately, I know that it is. I have never been attracted to women the way I have always been to men. I know I could never have those feelings for a girl. I've only ever wanted guys. It seems so easy for Mark to be who he is, as if it doesn't even faze him, doesn't even bother him. I wonder if it ever has. I pick up my beer and down it. Getting up, I walk back to the kitchen and just grab the whole pack and bring it into my bedroom. I open another bottle before finally texting Candace back. "I'm out. Maybe tomorrow?" I can't deal with this right now. I have no idea what I'm doing and feel more confused than ever. Lost.
"Can I get my tab, man?" I ask as one of the bartenders passes by. Moping around my apartment after what I did to Mark this afternoon was driving me crazy, so I decided to walk to 9 Million, a local bar in my neighborhood. It's getting late, and I'm about to hit my limit with alcohol. Sitting here alone, trying to think about anything other than what a total dick I am, has proven to be harder than what I was hoping. What the hell is wrong with me? I'm sick of this self-pity, wondering why I have to deal with all of this. Why can't my life just be simple? Simple choices. Hell, who am I even kidding? I know this isn't a choice. I wish it were. None of this would even be an issue if I were just straight. Maybe I was better off just being numb, taking what I wanted from guys and not having to worry about what it all means for me. "Here you go,"
the bartender says as he hands me my receipt. I don't even look at it. I just hand him my credit card and turn around in my seat. It's a busy night and people are packed in here. Everyone seems so carefree, happy even. I'm envious of them. Before I turn back in my seat to finish off my drink, I spot familiar tattoos on arms I vaguely remember. Making his way through the crowd, I definitely recognize his face as he pins his eyes on me and approaches. What's his name? I can hardly filter through my intoxicated brain to remember who this guy is. I swallow the last of my beer when he leans onto the crowded bar top and says, "Jace, it's been a while, mate." His Australian accent is his tell, and it clicks. "Hey, Preston. I haven't seen you around lately. You just disappeared on me." I disappear on almost all the guys I hook up with, and Preston is no different. In fact, this was the very bar I met him in the night we messed around several months back. "Didn't disappear, just been busy," I respond, not really in the mood to talk. When the bartender hands me back my card, I stand up, shoving it into my pocket. "You headed out?" His accent is more than appealing. Then I remember how even more appealing it was in bed. No question, this guy is hot, with his short, messy hair, hard build, and the almost cryptic winged tattoo I know is splayed across his shoulders underneath his shirt. Needing to dull the anguish in my head, I find myself returning to my not-so-old habit. "Yeah, want to come with?" We head out into the Seattle mist and walk the couple blocks to my building, staggering as Preston drones on about whatever it is he's talking about. I can't focus because my mind is still with Mark. I need to rid the thoughts of him. They're only making me feel worse. It's not long before we step into my apartment. I toss my keys towards the coffee table with shoddy aim and hear them hit the floor as I walk to my room. Preston follows, and when I clamber into bed, I look up to see him stripping off his shirt before he climbs on top of me. I'm a fumbling mess, trying to remove my shirt, needing to move quickly in an attempt to clear my head. He doesn't seem to want to waste any time either, when he pulls my pants off and tosses them across the room. His kisses are rough and aggressive, and I find it distracting because it's such a contrast to Mark. God, stop thinking about him. Returning Preston's intensity, I flip him over, tear open a condom, and almost immediately find myself regretting this hookup when I slam myself inside of him. This used to be fun, but now it feels wrong. I grip his shoulders, and my emotions start to spin out of control until irritation pervades. Frustration takes over, and I can't do this. I don't want to do this. Quickly, I push off of him and fall on my back onto the bed. "You need to go," I pant out. "What the hell's your problem?" he snaps back, and when he does, I roll out of bed, rip off the wasted condom, and yank my boxers on. "Just get out," I throw over my shoulder as I walk out of the room and to the kitchen in search of some aspirin. I used to be able to do this no problem.
pushing feelings aside and just taking the moment to be in a place of pure physical indulgence. It hits hard when realization affirms that this isn't what I want. It's him. How could I be so stupid? Weak. Why is it that Mark, in an instant, made everything I thought I knew about myself irrelevant? "This is really fucked up, you know?" Preston slings with ill temper as he walks into the living room, and I can't blame him. I'm an ass. I can't say anything else, so I just agree. "Yeah, I know," I mumble before taking another sip of my water, back towards him. "What, you can fuck me but you won't look at me?" he yells, becoming more pissed. "It doesn't even matter," I say, in a low, defeated voice, as I turn to face him. And to me, he doesn't matter. I'm not even sure I matter. His words are mixed with threat when he laughs and says, "It doesn't matter to you now," before slamming the door behind him. My phone reads that it's a little after 2 in the afternoon when I pick it up off my nightstand. Running my hand down my scruffy jaw, thoughts of what happened last night run through my still sleep-induced head. How is it possible that I feel even worse than I did yesterday? I should have accepted Candace's offer to come over last night. It would have saved me from making a complete ass of myself. I'd much rather be waking up with her than alone in the bed where I completely used Preston, when all I really wanted was to go back in time and erase screwing things up with Mark. And now all I want is her. Truth is, I need her, and I know her well enough to know she won't pry. With Candace, I'll be able to relax a bit. She has a way about her that, no matter what, just makes me feel good. Text. "Can you come over?" After I text her, I drag myself out of bed and into the kitchen to mix up some Gatorade. My phone chimes with Candace's incoming text. "Heading to the studio. Everything okay?" "Yeah, just want to spend time with you." "See you in a few hours?" "Sounds good." Knowing that she'll be coming over, I force myself to pull it together. If she saw me like this, she'd worry too much, and I don't want her to worry. So I decide that tonight will be like any other night for the two of us. We'll hang out, cook, and just relax. God, I need to find a way to relax. I decide to forego the self-loathing and hit the pavement for a much-needed run, and try to do some productive thinking for a change. I toss back my Gatorade, chugging it before throwing on some clothes and heading out. I run around Fremont before drifting into the surrounding neighborhoods. Pushing myself, my mind starts to drift again, but this time I try and focus my thoughts on how to make this right. What I did to Mark was wrong, no question about it, but if I'm ever going to get to a place where I can stop living a lie and face the truth that deep down I know is me, I need to do something. I am so damn torn up about Mark. Why did I have to be such an idiot? I think about what my parents would say if they knew. What would they do? Pounding my feet against the ground, I take long strides, as the thought of baring myself to my parents sends chills through my ragged body, while sweat trails down my back. Fuck that. It will never happen. I just need to get away, get out of Seattle for a while and get some space away from this mess. As much as I don't want to, I do need to go back home. Check in with my parents. It's been almost 8 months since I went back. We haven't spoken in a couple of months, so just the phone call alone will be uncomfortable. I know they'll leave me alone for the most part, and that's really what I need right now. Space. Get out in the ocean and do some surfing. Maybe hang out with some of my old buddies. Calling my mom was awkward as predicted, since we go long spans of time without speaking. She was a little surprised when I asked if I could come home for a visit. When they said it would be fine, and that they would be there, we decided I would leave at the end of this week and spend a few days with them. Once that conversation was over, I ran down to the market on the ground floor of my apartment building. I decided to cook fajitas for Candace tonight. Cooking has always been my thing. I love it, and find myself cooking for her a lot, since she is normally a bottomless pit. She's a dance major at UW and spends hours in the studio nearly 7 days a week. So she always has an appetite when I cook for her, since her idea of cooking is grabbing an apple from her fridge. As I'm slicing the peppers, I hear a knock on my door. "It's open!" I holler. Her hair is still in a bun when she opens the door and walks in.
"Hey, you mind if I take a quick shower? I came straight from the studio."
"Go ahead. Dinner will be ready soon." Walking into the kitchen, she kisses my cheek and says,
"That smells so good. I'm starving."
"Hurry up then."
"Okay, give me 10 minutes,
she says, as she rushes off to the bathroom. While she showers, I finish chopping the peppers and onions and toss the sirloin into the skillet of hot oil. When I take the last heated tortilla from one of the skillets, I place it in the oven and look up to see Candace walking in, wearing a pair of my boxers and a t-shirt.
"What are you making?"
Turning off the stove, I pull out 2 plates as I say, "Fajitas. I made a lot, so you better be hungry." She laughs and picks out a bottle of wine for us. Once we have our plates made and drinks in hand, we make ourselves comfortable on the couch.
"So, what's bothering you?"
Candace asks, catching me off guard. "What are you talking about?"
"I see it in your face. I know you well enough to know when something is weighing on your mind," she says, and then takes a bite of her food.
What's weighing on my mind the most is Mark, but I appease her with saying, "I called my mom today."
"Really?"
She's surprised. She knows we don't talk and barely even have a relationship.
"What did you guys talk about?"
"Nothing really, but I'm going back home for a quick visit at the end of this week." Setting her tortilla down, she gives me a curious look and says,
"Why?"
"I haven't seen my parents since last Christmas. We just thought it was time for a visit."
"Are you worried at all? I mean, being back home when you guys are so distant with each other?"
Taking a sip of my wine, I say, "It's not like it'll be different than any other trip back home."
"True. I just worry, that's all."
"I know you do, but it's just a short visit to catch up." I don't tell her the real reason why I'm going, because I'm not sure I'm ready to admit all of my insecurities to her just yet. I don't even want to admit them to myself, but I hate keeping secrets from her. She's my best friend.
"When do you leave?"
I booked my flight for Wednesday.
"Do you want me to drive you to the airport?"
"No, I'm just going to leave my car there. Who knows if I'll come home early or not, but if I do, I want to have my car." Setting her plate down, she shifts to face me.
"What's really going on?" she questions.
"Nothing, but I've told you about my parents. I just don't want anything to keep me from coming back here in case I want to leave." Letting out a deep sigh, she says,
"Okay, well, when are you supposed to be back?"
"Saturday."
"I feel like there's something you're not telling me."
Setting down my plate, I pull her next to me and we lean back on the couch. "You know I love you, right?" She doesn't speak. She just nods her head against my chest. "Let's not talk about my parents anymore, okay?" Looking up at me, she grins and says,
"Okay, I'm sorry."
"Don't be. I like that you worry about me." I kiss the top of her head and promise myself that I will tell her everything when I can find a way. Chapter 6. The 2.5-hour flight to San Diego felt like time was standing still, but as soon as the plane landed, it suddenly felt all too short. My father was already there, waiting to drive me back to the home I grew up in. Mom had stayed behind, and when we arrived, we said our uncomfortable greetings before she went back to doing whatever she was doing before I walked through the front door. Tossing my bag in my bedroom, I take out my phone to call Candace and let her know I made it. She can't talk long, so we cut it short, and I tell her that I might be out of pocket for the next few days, so she won't worry if she doesn't hear from me. This house feels exactly the same. Nothing ever changes. It's like my parents have been put on pause ever since Jace died 5 years ago. Like suddenly the world stopped spinning. I walk down the hall to her room and open the door. Everything is still untouched.
Photos still displayed on her pinboard above her desk of her and her boyfriend. She really loved him. They had both been accepted to Cal State. She was so happy that they were going together, and I was happy that she would be less than 2 hours away from me. I closed the door on those memories, head back to my room, and lie on my bed. I miss her. I miss her so damn much. I think the reason I am bonded so tightly with Candace is because she reminds me a lot of my sister. Sometimes I swear Jace gave her to me so I would always have a piece of her with me. I swallow hard and slide off the bed. I've got to get out of here for a while. Packing up my wetsuit, I head downstairs and borrow the keys to my father's truck. I load up my shortboard and head down to the beach. I need some space to clear my head. I spend most of the afternoon in the water, but La Jolla is a small town, so it isn't long before I run into some of my buddies I went to high school with. They're home from college for the summer, and I don't get home till late. The next 2 days passed by with me dodging my parents. I fill most of the time at the beach, surfing and hanging out with old friends. Last night, a few of us went to a local bar to hear a couple of bands play. But now, here I am. I have 6 hours until my flight leaves to take me back to Seattle, and I feel no better about the mess I caused with Mark than I did when I got here. I find myself wandering down to my sister's room. Walking in, I go over to her dresser and pull out a small photo album she had made of the two of us. She was going to take it to college with her. I look at these pictures every time I come home. I sit on the floor and lean my back against her bed. Flipping the album open, I look at a photo of her and I together on the beach. My eyes are the same light golden color as hers, and as her eyes bore into me, I wonder what she would tell me to do. I just want to be happy. I don't want to feel ashamed or embarrassed. Because I feel this way, I screwed up something that had the potential to be good. I know Jace would want me to be happy. She wouldn't want me to be carrying around this secret. Maybe that's it. Maybe this lie needs to end where it began, here. My sister would want me to be honest with my parents, but it's more than that. I think she would want me to finally be brave enough to be honest with myself. What do I really have to lose by telling them? It isn't as if we speak, we don't. Ever since Jace died, I've been nothing but an afterthought for them, and they hardly even acknowledge me. Coming out to my parents may be just the thing I need to do to erase this gray haze I've been living in. The reality of being out with my parents might be my defining moment, my freeing moment. As much as the thought of having that conversation with my parents terrifies me, I think it's time that it happens. I focus in on my sister's eyes in the photo, and I know she'd have my back no matter what, but I fear that telling my parents could possibly be the end of my family. They are all I have. And I'm pretty sure when I get back on the plane to go back to Seattle, I will be going back to the only thing I have left in the world, Candace. My mind is in overdrive, dreading and fearing what I am about to tell my parents. I think about Mark. Honestly, I can't stop thinking about him. I want to call him. I want to explain why I did what I did. Standing up, I walk over to the dresser and slip the album back into the drawer. I turn around and stare at her bed while I try and muster up all the strength that I feel is failing me in this moment. Jace would tell me to do this. She wouldn't want me to hurt, and right now that's all I'm feeling, for many reasons. My stomach is in knots, and I feel sick as I start walking out of the room. Making my way down the stairs, I feel like I am losing control with each step I take. What they say or do is completely out of my hands, and I'm scared. I don't want to hurt them, but I don't want to hurt myself more than I already have. I hate feeling the shame and embarrassment. I hate the lies. I hate that these feelings cause me to hurt a really decent guy who didn't deserve my shit. When I walk into the living room, my mother is reading a book on the couch next to my father, who is working on his laptop.
Taking a deep breath and trying to grab onto any shred of courage I can find, I sit down in one of the chairs that's across from where my parents are sitting. Looking up, my mother acknowledges me and says,
"Hi, dear."
"Hey, Mom. Listen, I need to talk to you guys about something," I stammer out, and I can't believe I'm about to tell them this. My hands are shaking, and my heart is beating at an insanely rapid rate. "Is everything okay, son?" my father says, as he closes the lid to his laptop. "Yeah, no." I take a second to try and compose my thoughts, but they are all over the place, and I can't seem to find a coherent one floating around my head. It's just, something has been bothering me, and I think you should know. My mother sets her book down on her lap and focuses on me.
"Is everything okay at school?"
"Yeah, it's not that. School is fine."
I take a deep breath and let it out slowly. I know the words I need to say, so with my head down, I repeat them over and over in my mind, trying to force my mouth to actually speak them. I'm gay. I'm gay. I'm gay. Lifting my head up, I look to my mother. "I'm gay." Fuck, I take that back. God, why did I just tell them? "I'm sorry, what?"
my mother says, with her brows cinched together in confusion.
God, don't make me say it again.
"What did you just say?" My father speaks in a tone that's none too friendly. Looking between them, I swallow against my dry throat and repeat, "I'm gay." "Is this your idea of a sick joke?" my father says with harsh intent, and I know what's coming. I knew they wouldn't be happy. I knew I'd most likely lose them, but the reality of it feeds the anger within me, and I can feel it boiling inside. No, it's not a joke.
"I don't understand. You've always liked girls. In high school, you were always dating," my mother says.
"I know, Mom, but I have always liked guys more." "Enough," my father snaps. He stands and begins to quickly pace back and forth across the room, rubbing his head and staring at me with fury. Stopping in front of me, he seethes. "No son of mine is a faggot. I don't know what the hell is going on, but I've heard enough." His words sting.
I had to tell you. I'm sick of lying about who I am. I needed you to know so that I can stop hiding. But you haven't actually...
My mother can't get her thoughts out when my dad butts in. "God, of course not, Sharon." His condescending tone is fueling me to throw it all out there. Standing up, I snap. "What? Kissed a guy? Slept with a guy? Yes." "Get out of my house," my father demands in a low, stern voice. I look to my mother, who is sitting there in shock. With her eyes fixed on me, she shakes her head and says,
"Listen to your father."
Tears begin to fall down her cheeks as she stands next to my dad and continues,
"I thought losing your sister was bad, but you... knowing that you're going to hell, come in here and shame what's left of this family."
"You need to get your things and go. Until you can sort yourself out, you're not welcome in this house. You hear me?"
"I'm your son."
"No, you're not. Not anymore," he asserts sternly. I don't say another word. There is nothing for me to say. Why would I want to beg these people to accept me? Why should I have to? I turn around and walk back upstairs to my room to pack my bags and call a cab. Pain rips through my chest, knowing that I've just lost the only family I have. It's another burden I'll have to carry with this life that chose me. I've always blamed the lack of love they have for me on the agony of losing their daughter. But now I know that regardless of whether Jace was dead or alive, they still wouldn't accept me for who I really am. I walk down the hall to her room and open the door. I go into her closet and take her La Jolla High cheerleading shirt she always used to wear. Closing the door, I walk over to her dresser, open the top drawer, and grab the photo album. Taking both of these items, I walk back to my room and pack them into my bag. I just can't walk away from here without taking pieces of her with me. I zip my bag and let my fears, my worries, my sadness rip out of me. I sit on the floor, against my bed, and the tears fall. I'm so fucking lost right now. I don't know what to do or where I belong. I feel like everything is crashing down on top of me, and the pain in my chest is almost unbearable. With my head in my hands, I cry. Being in this house is agonizing. What once held good memories now only holds burning ones. Knowing my cab will be here any minute, I take my bags and head downstairs. My parents are still in the living room, and they don't even look up when I walk through and make my way to the front door. It's as if I don't even exist. I'm thoroughly drained when I finally get off the plane and get to my car. As weak as it sounds, I just want to go back to the only home I know. I just want to crawl into bed with her and tell her all this shit and let it out, knowing that she loves me regardless of anything I could possibly say. I shove my luggage into the back and slide into the driver's seat. When I turn my phone on, I see I have a missed text from Candace. Heading out for a few hours. Come by later. Dying to see you. Knowing that she thought about me enough to even send this text is all I need. I breathe in a sigh of relief and head straight to her house. When I see that the text was sent a couple hours ago. Even if she isn't home yet, hopefully Kimber will be. I just need my friends right now. I stop by the liquor store first and pick up some wine before driving to their place. When I pull up, Kimber's car and Candace's little white Acura are in the driveway. I've always had a key to their house, so I don't even bother ringing the doorbell. I just unlock the door and walk right in. "Hey girls," I call out, and before I can make it to the kitchen to set the wine down, Candace runs into the living room and gives me a big hug. God, this feels good. It's only been a few days, but I've missed her like hell. She looks up at me, and with a huge smile on her face, she gives me a kiss and takes the wine. Kimber steps in and wraps her arms around me as I watch Candace walk into the kitchen. Kimber starts chatting about some band she saw last night as I make myself comfortable on the couch. Candace walks back into the room and sits on the floor, opening the wine and pouring herself a glass. Looking up at me, she hands me the bottle and asks, "So, how was your trip to San Diego?" Pouring my wine, I say, "It was good. I hung out with friends, went out to a few bars, and saw some bands. You know, the usual visit home." I don't tell her what really happened because I want to talk to her about it in private, away from Kimber. Not that I won't tell her, but I just want to talk with Candace first. "Well, we're glad you're back," Candace says with a smile, and then takes a sip of her wine. "You have no idea how happy I am to be back," I say in all seriousness. "Man, was it that bad, Jace?" Kimber asks. "It's just not home to me anymore. Plus I missed you bitches." I laugh, in an attempt to shift my mood from its current somber one. "So, what have I missed?" I ask, and then down my wine faster than I should, but I'm desperate to take the edge off. "Well, Candace is dating a douche from Mommy and Daddy's country club," Kimber says as she winks at Candace. "I am not," she practically squeals, and I really do wonder what the hell I've missed in the past few days. Candace looks at me and explains. "We went out for drinks, that's all." "Are you seeing him again?" Kimber questions, teasing Candace, and I can tell she's getting under her skin. "You're seeing him again?" I ask in utter shock. Who is she giving a second date to? Wait, who's him? Who are you seeing? No, I mean, yes. God, really, it's no big deal. Must be if he's getting a second date, I say, as I take another drink. Is that where you were earlier? On your date? Uh-huh, she nods. Where did you guys go? You never told me, Kimber asks as she folds her legs underneath her. We went to Prescriptions. Oh, I love that place, Kimber says. Anyway, new subject. What the hell are we doing this week before classes start back up?
I have some serious studio time I need to put in. I also have to work.
You always keep yourself so busy, I say. I wish that she wouldn't. I feel like Candace hides too much behind her school and work. We kick back for a while, and I enjoy this much-needed distraction from what happened earlier today. We talk about school and what our schedules are going to be like this next quarter. I can tell that Candace is tired, so when Kimber and I decide to turn on the TV, I tell Candace, "Come here, sweetie," as I motion for her to sit next to me. Kimber turns on some trash show, and Candace lies down with her head on my lap. I comb her hair with my fingers as I sit back, and only half pay attention to the TV. After a while, I look down, and Candace is passed out.
Is she asleep?
Kimber whispers in my direction, and I nod my head yes. I let her sleep for a little bit longer before I decide to go lay her down.
I'll be right back. I'm going to try and get her to her room without waking her, I tell Kimber. Okay, I'll go grab the other bottle of wine.
I nod my head and scoop Candace up in my arms. This chick is tiny and barely weighs anything, so getting her into her bed is no problem. She's already in her pajamas, so I lie her down and pull the covers over her before heading back out to the living room. Kimber and I drink the second bottle of wine and wind up hanging for a couple more hours. When she passes out on the couch, I head to Candace's room and strip out of my clothes. Sliding into bed behind her, I wrap my arms around her and draw her in close to me. She presses into me, tucking herself tighter against my chest.
Did I wake you? I whisper. Yeah, but it's okay, she says softly. What time is it?
Around 2. You passed out, so I carried you in here and hung out with Kimber for a while longer.
Is she asleep?
Yeah, and snoring like a beast. Candace laughs, and the sound makes me crack up as well. She rolls over and lays her head on my chest, and I band my arms tightly around her. I feel like I'm clinging to the only person I have left to depend on.
So, why did your trip really suck? I know something's bothering you, she questions, and I love that she can read me so well.
I let out a deep breath and say, I told them. Her grip on me tightens.
What did they say?
They threw me out. When I tell her, my chest begins to ache, and each breath I take almost feels like painful stabs. I know she is crying when I feel her tears roll onto my chest. I hate that she's hurting for me, but in a way, it comforts me to know she cares so much.
I'm so sorry. Why didn't you call me?
I don't know. I was embarrassed, I guess. I haven't told anyone what happened. I don't want the pity.
You know I don't pity you, right?
Yeah, I whisper, then kiss the top of her head, feeling a little more free now that I've told her. I know I have a lot more to tell her, but I won't tonight. I don't want to make her more upset, and honestly, I just don't think I have it in me right now. I'm tired, and I've had way too much to drink.
I'm sad because I love you. When your heart hurts, so does mine. Your pain is my pain.
Each of her words lifts more and more weight off my chest. We lie there, and I just hold her.
You know this is your home, don't you? Right here with me. Kimber and I are your home, and we don't give a shit that you like guys.
I kiss the top of her head again, and she grips me even tighter. I allow her words to comfort me, the words I wish my parents would have said. The heat of my tears roll down my temples, and I try to keep my emotions under control, so she can't see how upset I really am.
Jace, she finally whispers.
Yeah, sweetie?
I love you.
I love you too. More than anything in this world. Chapter 7. I haven't spent much time with Candace this past week. She's been picking up a lot of extra shifts at work and spending more time in the dance studio before classes start back up next week. I've been dreading having to face Mark since we have a couple of classes together this quarter. I think about him a lot and feel terrible for what I did. I've thought about texting him, but have no clue what I could possibly say at this point. Since I came back home, I haven't spoken to my parents, so I can only assume they meant what they said. It hurts. It hurts to know that I might never see or speak to them again. I just don't understand how you can turn your back so easily on your child. It makes me think that everything with them, all of the good, was nothing but a lie. Maybe that's where I learned it from. Maybe pretending comes so easily to me because it's all my parents ever did. I don't really know what I gained from telling them. It didn't give me what I was hoping for. I'm not sure what it'll take or what I have to do to be more at peace with myself. I've been trying to keep busy so my mind doesn't wander so much. I've been spending a lot of time in the gym and running. I was shocked when Candace said she was coming out with Kimber and me tonight. She never goes out with us, but lately she's been coming out of her shell a little more. I think all the fighting with her parents has finally taken a toll on her, and she's looking for some sort of release. She even said the guy she went out with the other day is coming along. I'm not sure if she even likes him, but I'm happy she's giving it a chance. I decide to head out a little early, needing the distraction. When I arrive at Remedy, I spot some of my friends that are already here. We sit around and talk for a while, before my eyes catch Mark as he's walking in. Shit. It feels like a brick falls in the pit of my stomach. God, he looks good. And a part of me, a really big part, wants to go over and talk to him, but I'm sure I'm the last person he wants to see. Right behind Mark, Kimber and Candace walk in, and Candace can't get to me fast enough. I walk toward her and quickly grip her arm, rushing her over to the bar at the back of the club. You thirsty? She asks with sarcasm. Still freaking out, I say, Not really. I just saw Mark. When we get up to the bar, we hop onto a couple of bar stools. Isn't that the hottie you used to see that plays guitar? Exactly. I give her a serious look. I still haven't told her what happened with Mark. I flag down the bartender and order some shots and bottles of beer. Eyeing me from the side, she says, Okay, spill it. Clearly you're into getting drunk, so tell me what happened. When the bartender sets the drinks down in front of us, I push 2 of the shots and a beer over to her, and we both knock the tequila back quickly before I confess, he caught me kissing his roommate. She immediately starts laughing at me, not knowing how I ever felt about him, and jokes, You can be such a slut sometimes, you know? Trust me. I know, I say, and hand her the second shot. We down them, and I tell her, He was really pissed off. I actually feel like total shit about it. She lays her hand on my arm and looks at me a little concerned, but she is instantly distracted when a guy comes up from behind and pulls her into his arms. She turns around to face him. Hey, Jack. I laugh to myself when she nearly stumbles off the bar stool and into his arms. Candace never handles hard liquor too well, and it doesn't take much for her to feel the effects. She introduces us, and I give him a handshake. I continue to drink my beer as Candace and Jack talk. This guy doesn't really strike me as her type. I can't help but feel protective of her. She really doesn't have anyone in her life to care for her other than Kimber and myself. I know that Candace considers the 2 of us family, and there is no doubt that she is my family as well. When I turn back to look at her, she is rolling her eyes at something Jack just said, and I can't help but laugh at her. He leans in and whispers something in her ear, and the next thing I know, they're making their way to the dance floor. I order another drink when Kimber grabs the now empty bar stool. Are we getting drunk? Looking over at her, I wink as I take a long swig of my beer. Perfect, she says with an evil grin, and then yells at the bartender for a beer. When he slides one to her, she starts chugging the damn thing and turns around in her seat. Holy shit. What? Pointing the neck of her bottle in the direction of the dance floor, she says, Our girl is giving her date a hard-on. I turn around and spot Candace dancing with Jack. I start laughing at her because she is acting so out of character. She is always so quiet and reserved, and she is nearly making out with this dude in the middle of the club. What the hell has gotten into her lately? I asked Kimber. She said she feels like she hasn't really let loose since coming to college. I guess this is her way of having some fun. It's pretty damn amusing if you ask me. Our quiet little Candace acting like a hooker. I shake my head at Kimber. You know damn well that Candace would never do anything with that guy. When we see Jack's hands squeeze her ass, we both bust out in a fit of laughter, nearly doubling over at her crazy behavior. You sure about that? Kimber says through her giggles. I stay at the bar and continue to nurse my beer. Kimber has ditched me, and when I turn to see where she went, I spot Mark again. I watch him laughing with a group of his friends, and I wish I could be over there with him. I'm sure he hasn't seen me since I've been hiding out back here. I finally stand up and make my way over to the rest of our friends and see that Jack is sitting alone. Where's Candace? I ask as I sit next to him. That crazy blonde girl dragged her to the bathroom. That would be Kimber. She's like a rabid squirrel on acid, I say with laughter. When Candace comes up to us, she asks Jack what he's laughing at. She squeezes herself in between the two of us, and he says, I can't even remember, now that you're here. The look on her face is priceless, and I chuckle under my breath. She has no clue how to respond when guys say sweet things to her. She always gets so embarrassed, and Jack is completely clueless. It's getting late, so Kimber and I call it a night. Candace decides to stay a little while longer with Jack, so we say our goodbyes and head out. Walking out to the parking lot, I notice Mark heading to his car. I turn to Kimber and say, Hey, I'll catch you later, okay? Yeah, have a good night, she says as she turns to her car. I'm not sure what I'm doing or what I'm going to say, but I call out, Mark! He turns around, and when he looks at me, he shakes his head and says, We've got nothing to talk about, man. Wait, just give me a second. I hate feeling like I have been for the past couple of weeks, and I figure if I can be honest with my parents, then I can be honest with him. He deserves an explanation and an apology. He leans against his car and folds his arms across his chest as I approach. Clearly, he's still pissed. But what he does to me when I'm around him is something that I can't explain. I feel it in my chest. It courses through me, and suddenly, I'm nervous. Can I just explain myself? I ask as I step in front of him. I don't really think there is anything you could say at this point. Dropping my head, I take a second before looking into his eyes, and I instantly feel a need to beg him for another chance. I'm not quite sure where this is coming from, but I take a huge leap and follow my heart. I know I'm sorry isn't enough, but I am. I really fucked up. I step to move beside him and lean up against the car next to him. Shoving my hands in my pockets, I make my confession. I was scared. When I say this, Mark finally turns his head and looks at me. I continue. I was scared because I've never done this before. I've never wanted to be around another guy the way I want to be around you. The thing is, I'm not sure what the hell I'm doing. Why couldn't you just talk to me? Because it wasn't until I met you that I realized I was terrified to admit that I'm gay. I stop, trying to find the words to explain myself. I mean, I've always known, but the idea of a relationship just seemed too defining, and I wasn't sure I was ready. A part of me is still really uncomfortable with this, I admit. So, what does that have to do with you making out with Kyle? I didn't know how to talk to you, so it was my fucked up way of destroying whatever it was that we had going on so that I didn't have to deal with it. I am nothing but honest with him, and although I could just be pissing him off even more, I feel like I owe him this. He turns his head away from me and focuses straight forward. I notice his clenched jaw, but I stay quiet, waiting for some kind of response. Keeping his eyes ahead, he says, "I really liked you, you know?"
I'm sorry.
He surprises me when he reveals, "I still really like you." My heart thuds hard in my chest when he tells me this. He still doesn't look at me, but I decide to return his honesty and tell him, I flew home and told my parents last weekend. I never told them before because I was afraid of what that meant for me. He looks at me when I say this and takes a moment before responding. "You don't have to explain. I've been there. I felt the same way." I nod my head and finally realize that if only I would have been honest with him, he possibly could have really helped me. Maybe he still can. "What did they say?" he asks. Shaking my head, I turn to look away from him when I say, "It's over. They threw me out, told me not to come back or call." When I turn to look back at him, the look in his eyes is of disbelief. I wasn't completely surprised. I knew that would most likely be their reaction. Then why? I hoped it would help me come to terms with all of this. Did it?
Honestly, I don't know.
But at least I'm able to tell you everything I was too scared to say before. We stand there without speaking when the mist turns into thicker sprinkles, but we don't move. I wish I knew what he was thinking. I'm feeling anxious and extremely exposed right now. But he gives me a little hope when he turns to face me and asks, "So, what do you want now?"
I know I don't have any right to ask you to forgive me, but I feel like absolute shit for what I did, and I'm so sorry.
I swallow hard when I admit,
I really like you, Mark. I just want a chance to show you that I'm not an asshole.
I know you're not an ass, but you really let me down. I'm not sure I can trust you.
Let me show you that you can,
I say, and I know with those words that I can't let my fear get in the way again. I need to face this. I need to learn to be okay with myself. When I see him nod his head, I can't fight my smile. I want to kiss him. God, I want to kiss him so bad, but I don't. I just wrap my arms around him and pull him in for a hug. When I feel his arms band around me, I say once again, I'm so fucking sorry. No more apologies. Let's just start over. He leans back slightly, and I don't take what I want to take. I want him to know that I want something more than just that. So I simply leave it with, "Coffee? Tomorrow?" He smiles and responds, "Sounds good. I'll call you when I wake up." I nod my head and take a step back when Mark opens his door and hops in the driver's seat. Before he closes the door, he says, "Jace, thanks for being honest with me."
Thanks for giving me the chance.
Chapter 8. Mark called this morning like he said he would. I suggested we meet at Pete's on the ground floor of my apartment building. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't still anxious about all of this, but the feeling of not wanting to walk away from Mark is stronger than my fear of defining who I am to myself. I shrug on a t-shirt and grab my keys before making my way to the elevator. I arrive before he does, so I go ahead and get a coffee before finding a seat by the window to wait for him. It's raining pretty hard today, and I watch as it falls from the dark sky. I pull my phone out and shoot Candace a text. I really need to talk to her about everything that's been going on. Text. Can I see you later? I sit for a while and drink my coffee before my phone buzzes with her response.
Yeah, I'll be home.
Okay, I'll text you in a bit. Love you. Hey, man, I hear Mark say, and I shove my phone in my pocket as I stand up to give him a hug. I'll take all the touches I can from this guy. Seeing his coffee already in hand, we sit down and he says, "How's it going?" "Good. You?" I ask, as he nods his head and leans forward, resting his elbows on the table. "I was thinking about what you said last night, about your parents and all." I shake my head. "Don't worry about it." "Are they all the family you have?"
Yeah, but we haven't been close for a long time. It's not like we really ever spoke. He takes a long sip of his drink and sets his cup down. So, what are you going to do? There's nothing I can do. It's done with. They were pretty final with what they said. I know them well enough to know when they shut down, they don't open back up. He shakes his head, and I know this bothers him, so I assure him. I'm not alone, if that's what you're wondering. I have a really close friend that I've always considered my family.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Actually, I should probably talk to you about her. I need to explain our relationship to him because I know it isn't typical. He needs to know how we are, and I need to know if this bothers him.
Okay. You're making me nervous, he says with a chuckle.
No, it's nothing crazy. We just have a strong relationship, and I want you to understand that it's nothing beyond friends.
What do you mean?
Leaning back in my seat, I tell him, we're really close. I mean, we're physically close as well. It's just always been that way with us. Her name's Candace. She's a sweet girl, but in many ways extremely closed off. Her parents are dicks to her. But anyway, I just need you to know that we spend a lot of time together. We spend a lot of nights